Well, one of our Out There segment today, we could have gone a few different directions with this because there's so much in the news, and I don't know if you've been made aware of some of it. For example, this is not the direction we're going today, but I'll just throw this out there. There have been some class action lawsuits filed against Home Depot and Lowe's saying that they're using the cameras in their store for facial recognition purposes, and they literally know exactly who you are when you walk into the store, and then the cameras track you as you move about the store. So, this is really getting into sort of the 1984 world. Now, the reason the class action lawsuits were filed is because they don't disclose this. They don't give people the opportunity to try to opt out or even know what the data retention policy is. And so those are some of the reasons that it could give rise to a lawsuit. But understand as you move around out there that we've got these facial recognition technologies that are in full deployment, apparently, to the point where your retail stores know who you are when you walk in the door. And how could this become scary? Well, this could become scary when the computers take over, right? Because there's not going to be any escaping. The computers will know who you are and where you are at all times. And imagine the power of having some of that information. And some of what we're going to share with you today, I've got a sort of a lengthy clip from a presentation that was given by a guy whose name is Jordy Rose, and he's the CEO of a company called Kindred AI. Now, Kindred AI makes the only quantum computers that you can currently buy. They're not making the only quantum computers, but they're the only ones trying to commercialize that technology. Now, if you know how the quantum computers work, basically it works by cooling the chipset down, so cooling the computer itself down to nearly absolute zero. Now, absolute zero is a whole lot colder than it ever gets, even in deep space. It is beyond cold. But if they chill the chipsets down to almost absolute zero, they think that there are other chipsets, remember we've explained this to you before, in parallel universes at the same point in space, and cooling it down to absolute zero allows the chips essentially to access the computing power of these other quantum computers in other parallel universes. That's the theory. I don't think that has a lot of evidence behind it. I think the truth is they don't know why it works, and that's even scarier. But let's hear what this guy has to say about the creation of artificial intelligence entities. And I want you to pay special attention to the language he uses, because at one point he kind of compares them to demons, artificial intelligence, but he says they're not really like demons. And then he goes into this lengthy sort of explanation of H.P. Lovecraft and that they're actually closer to summoning the old ones from the H.P. Lovecraft novels and short stories. And if you know what those are, it's pretty scary stuff. But listen here to what he has to say.
These things that we're building are not going to be people. They might be really smart, they might be really good at all sorts of different things, but they're not going to be like us. They're going to be aliens. And they're going to be, I'm sorry to say, way smarter than every single person in this room, in ways that we can't even comprehend. So this, of course, triggers a lot of alarm. One of the guys who talks about this is Elon, who says things like this, like, when you do this, beware. Because you think, just like the guy in the stories, that when you do this, you're going to put that little guy in a pentagram, and you're going to have your holy water out, and you're going to wave it at the thing, and by God, it's going to do exactly what you say and not one thing more, but it never works out that way. So this is an attitude that some are having, this emerging alarmism about the way this is going to go. But these words, demons, doesn't capture the essence of what's happening here. I don't know if any of you are turn-of-the-century weird fiction fans, but there's this guy named H.P. Lovecraft, who's a very famous American weird fiction author. And he espoused a view which is called cosmicism. And the essence of cosmicism is cosmic indifference. So what he was saying is basically, yes, there are these massively intelligent entities out there, but they're not good, they're not evil. They just don't give it about you even in the slightest. The same way that you don't care about an ant is the same way they're not going to care about you. And these things that we're summoning into the world now are not demons, they're not evil, but they're more like the Lovecraftian great old ones. There are entities that are not necessarily going to be aligned with what we want. So this transition is really, really massively important for our entire species to navigate. And going back to that thing that Sam Harris was saying, nobody is paying attention. This thing is happening in the background while people bicker about politics and what's going to be in the health.
I like that guy.
Yeah, so listen to the language he's using. I mean, he's using the language of conjuring demons, right? He talks about putting this thing in a pentagram, and you have your holy water to control it. Now, it's just so interesting is probably a word that I'm choosing because I don't want to say something too much stronger, but it's really interesting to me the way that the supposedly smartest people in the world, working on some of the hardest problems in the world, like quantum computing, they seem to have this bent towards occultism and witchcraft, and they seem to be weaving that into the story of what they're creating, right? He says we're talking about summoning these entities, right? Summoning these entities. And I just wonder, why are they using this type of language? I mean, have they had contact with these entities? Have they tried summoning these entities in these little magical ceremonies that they might want to have fun with? I mean, we've certainly talked about how guys like Jack Parsons, the founder of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, was well known for performing these lengthy black magic rituals and trying to bring entities into our universe from another realm. So are these guys, why do they keep going back to this language? I think it's because they dabble in it. I think it's because it's what's familiar to them, and that's actually what they're doing. That they're summoning some kind of entity. They don't really know what it is. They don't really know how they're going to control it. They just know it's really smart and really powerful. And I think we need to watch out for that, folks. I'm Morgan Streetman, and that's the way I see it. Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And remember that we recommend that you exercise your brain at least once a week.